Greetings everyone. The topic for today is clauses and its types. So let's discuss about the clauses and its various types one by one. Moving towards the definition of the clauses, we know that a clause is a group of words that has subject and a predicate. Every complete sentence is made up of at least one or more clauses. Moving towards independent clause or main clause, or in another way we can say that another name for the main clause is independent clause. Whenever we have a subject plus verb, it provides us complete thought, meaning, or understanding of the sentence. For example, John bought a new car. We have one clause in this sentence. In the second example, as you can see, he drove to the store to buy some bread. Here again we have one main clause, or in other words you can say we have one independent clause. Why is this an independent clause? Because it is conveying a complete meaning or understanding. If it would not, it means that we need another clause to complete the meaning of this clause. I play in the backyard. In this example, again, we have one main clause. Moving towards another type of the clause, which is a dependent clause, or we can say subordinate clause. A dependent clause is one which relies on another clause to make a complete sentence. So we can say this is entirely opposite to the independent clause because it is depending in another clause to convey its meaning or understanding. Whenever we have a dependent clause, or we can say subordinate clause, we have a subordinate conjunction plus we have a subject plus we have a verb, but it will provide us with an incomplete thought. Here we have few examples. Let's read one by one in detail. Whenever I go to the superstore, I buy chips. So in this sentence, we have two clauses. Whenever I go to the superstore, this is the dependent clause because it is not conveying a complete understanding or meaning until or unless we read another clause, which is I buy chips. So whenever I go to the superstore, this is dependent clause, or we can say this is a subordinate clause. In the second example, you can see she is hostile mostly because she is not happy. Because she is not happy is a dependent clause and it is depending on the previous clause for the meaning or for the understanding, which is she is hostile mostly. Because she is not happy. Why because she is not happy? It is creating a question in our mind in order to understand it. While we are reading the previous clause, it is conveying its meaning. In the third example, if he can work on weekends, he will earn much more money. In this example, you can see if he can work on weekends, what will happen? Until or unless we read another clause, he will earn much more money, it is not conveying its meaning. So in this example, if he can work on weekends is a dependent clause, which is depending on the independent clause, he will earn much more money. The next type of the clause is relative clause or adjective clause. Another name for relative clause is adjective clause because it is functioning as an adjective by modifying a noun in a sentence. So one thing is that it starts with the relative pronoun, which is a clue or an understanding for us that whenever we have a relative clause, it will start with a relative pronoun. Let's have a look on the examples. The woman who visited me in the hospital was very kind. In this sentence, you can see we have a relative pronoun who. So, who visited me in the hospital is a relative or adjective clause which is modifying a noun women in the sentence. In the second example, you can see the umbrella that I bought last week is already broken. So that is a relative pronoun. That I bought is, again we have a relative clause. That I bought last week is a relative or adjective clause because it is modifying umbrella or it is further telling you information about the umbrella. The weather that we had this summer was beautiful. Over here, that we had this summer is again we have adjective or you can say relative clause which is modifying the weather. In the last example you can see they live in a house whose roof is full of holes. In this example, whose is a relative pronoun, so whose roof is full of holes is adjective clause which is modifying a noun house in this sentence. Clauses words. So main clause are joined by coordinate conjunctions and, but, for, nor, or, yet, so. Or we can say it is an acronym for fanboys. So these are the clues which they will be telling you in order to identify each clause appropriately. For dependent clauses, they start with subordinate conjunctions, for example, although, as, because, before, even, and if. For relative clauses, they start with the relative pronoun as we have discussed in the previous slides. For example, who, which, whose, whom, that, and which. Noun clause is a dependent clause that works as a noun. Or we can say noun clause acts as a subject, direct or indirect objects or predicate nominatives. So in order to know the predicate nominatives and adjective nominatives, I'll be uploading a separate lecture regarding this topic. I hope that you have enjoyed this lesson. Don't forget to subscribe this channel for further updates on grammar topics. Thank you.